Hi, this is Alessio Rastani of Leading Trader. Hope you're well, and welcome to this fresh update and outlook on Bitcoin. In this video, I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful and best kept secrets by professional traders. I guarantee you guys that 99% of people do not know this about the markets, and I'm going to share it with you today in this video. You see, guys, a few days ago, I posted this video. Let me show it to you. So this is my video a few days ago, and in that video, what I showed you was this chart of Bitcoin, and I was explaining what this movement in Bitcoin a few days ago could potentially mean. In fact, as you can see here, a few days ago, we had quite an interesting surge or a pop in Bitcoin into the 6,800 level. If I go into a lower time frame chart, you will see that surge that we had a few days ago, this is what it looks like on a 5-minute time frame. Take a look. You'll see on a 5-minute time frame, that pop higher looked like this, as you'll see here on this lower time frame chart. But of course, if you look at it on a higher time frame, on this daily time frame chart that you see here, it doesn't look much of a rally, but it does certainly look like a pop into those levels. Now, as I'm sure you're probably aware, there have been some interesting so-called news stories about this event. And apparently what may have caused that surge was that the BitMEX exchange paused trading. Now, before I go into this, let me just say something important about that. When I posted my video, I got some fantastic comments, and let me just say thank you very much for those great comments. Keep them coming. I do appreciate it. Majority of my subscribers are intelligent and sophisticated people. As I'm sure most of you know, Bitcoin is subject to manipulation all the time, except we don't hear about it all the time. All right? In fact, every weekend, algorithms and bots designed by institutions are constantly manipulating the price of Bitcoin, which is the #1 reason why we do not care what the news narrative, what the mainstream media is saying. Let me just say this, guys. A lot of the stuff that is reported in the mainstream media is itself manipulation. All right? And I'll explain this in a few moments. And here's the big secret I want to share with you. And guys, 99% of people out there don't know this. There are two types of information. There are information for the masses, everybody else, and there's information for the classes. Who are the classes? I'm talking about the insiders, the elites, the professionals. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think what's reported in the mainstream media, the news narrative, the so-called news narratives, do you think they're information for the masses, or are they information for the classes? Yes, precisely. They are information for the masses. What we hear in the mainstream media and what gets reported is just that, information for the masses, the herd. But what we're interested in, and what I try my best to do in these videos, is looking at information for the classes. What are the smart money thinking? What are the professionals? In other words, the elites. What are these guys thinking? You see, guys, the elites, the professionals, the classes, the hedge funds, the institutions, they don't care about news narratives. In fact, let me just say this, guys. If you went up to one of these professionals in the city or Wall Street, and if you asked them, hey, what do you think about this news event I heard? How do you think they will react to you? They will laugh. And I know this myself because it happened to me. About 20 years ago, when I was very young, I learned the hard way. When I went up to one of these financial traders in the city, and I said to them, hey, what do you think about this news event I heard? And guys, the reaction I got from the traders in the city was, who cares? Who honestly cares about any of that? Because guys, guess what? The financial traders in the city, the elites, the professionals, they're the ones who actually generate the news. They often produce the news that is the manipulation that we hear in the mainstream media. So guys, remember, these guys, the elites, the professionals, the insiders, they don't care about news narratives. The only people who care about that, let me just say, are the herd, the masses, everybody else. So guys, if your source of information is the same source of information as everybody else, which is the mainstream media and the news and what's printed in newspapers and articles, then guess what? You're relying on information for the masses. In other words, the herd. And we know the danger of following the herd. What happens if you follow everybody else? In fact, if we follow what everybody else is doing, guess what? We're pretty much going down that cliff. So guys, you're probably asking yourself right now, well, what exactly is information for the classes? What are the classes doing? What are the elites doing, the professionals? Well, I can guarantee you this much, guys. The elites and professionals, these guys, they are not relying on the same information as everybody else. All right? Everybody else follows the mainstream media and the news and all that garbage. No, guys, we want to know where the money is flowing. What we want to know is how money is being exchanged. Is it going from buyers to sellers, or is it going from sellers to buyers? And for that, we need to be looking at the charts. Let me share with you a quote from one of the wealthiest and most important investors of our time, Bernard Baruch, who said this. He said, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. Let me just repeat that one more time because it's so important. Show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. Not the other way around. He did not say, well, let me look at my newspaper and let me see what the news is telling me and then I'll make my decision on what's happening. No, guys, it's the other way around. We look at the charts first to understand what's really going on. That's what I've been saying now over and over again in my videos. We need to be looking at price action because price action is pure. What we see on the charts is fact, which is why the trader Alexander Elder said there are two types of information. Information for the masses and information for the classes. Let me just give you a couple of examples. Take a look at this chart of Bitcoin from last year. Back in September of 2017, Bitcoin dropped quite heavily, as you'll see here. Now, what was the news story at the time when Bitcoin dropped? Was it positive or negative? It was, of course, negative. Without a doubt. Take a look at this. This is the news story at that exact time when Bitcoin dropped in September of last year. Top Chinese Bitcoin exchange to stop trading. So there was a lot of panic and fear in the markets at the time that China could affect Bitcoin. What was I saying in my videos? I was saying the exact opposite. In fact, in my video of last year, I said, look, Bitcoin has come down to an important key level of support, the 100 moving average. We're seeing a bounce off these levels. This is a bullish signal, and I said this is a time to be bullish on Bitcoin, not bearish, and ignore the news. Let me repeat that. Ignore the news narratives, ignore information for the masses, and focus on information for the classes. What did Bitcoin do next? Exactly what we expected, and it staged a massive rally higher. Let me show you another one. Now, this is the chart of the stock markets. Now, I know this is not Bitcoin, but it's important. Let me ask you this question. For the last few months, what kind of news stories have you been hearing all the time? Have they been positive or negative? They've been negative. All we've been hearing for the last few months have been trade war, trade tariffs with China, North Korea, Iran, and the possible impeachment of President Trump. Again, a lot of garbage news stories, but again, what I've been saying for the last few months is ignore the news. In fact, as you can see here, I've been bullish on the S&P 500 and the stock markets. So what does this teach us? It teaches us that the only place where the news and the news narratives belong is the garbage bin. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, well, how can we know what these guys are thinking? How can we know what the classes, the elites are thinking? Again, guys, remember, when these guys take action, when these guys are going to do something about, let's say, Bitcoin or some other market, guess what? Their actions leave a trace. Their actions leave a trace on the charts. Whenever the insiders, the smart money is doing something, their actions gets reflected on the price charts. That's why we look at the price, because price is pure. Price is fact. Which is exactly why, again, Bernard Baruch said, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. So guys, that is exactly why a few days ago I said to you, this action that we saw a few days ago on this particular chart right here on this price bar, notice that despite the jump, despite the surge that we had in the price of Bitcoin, notice where it stalled. It stalled, let me just bring this chart a bit back right here. Very interesting. It is not just by accident that price of Bitcoin stalled at this key level we've been eyeing for some time. I've been saying this now for many weeks and months. 6,800 is a key level for Bitcoin. In fact, you remember from last month that I said that if Bitcoin falls below 6,800, that is a major warning signal for Bitcoin, because that could potentially push Bitcoin down to 6,000. Which in fact is exactly what happened. So guys, what's happening is the fact that Bitcoin stalled at precisely this level that you see here, this 6,800 level, where that trend line, see that trend line coming down here where it meets us, these levels, this is telling us that 6,800 on the Bitcoin chart is becoming very important. That is acting as resistance. That level is acting as resistance for Bitcoin. And what that means, guys, is that Bitcoin must be able to get above 6,800 to be able to change the dynamics. Now, personally, I don't think that even if Bitcoin gets above 6,800, that's going to be enough. No, but in any case, it's going to be something. And by the way, let me show you this chart here as well. This is on a 1 hour time frame chart of Bitcoin. And over here on the right-hand side, I'm showing you my market profile indicator, which I'm looking to release later this year. And look at this thick level. This is a thick level of market profile right there at 6,800 to 6,850. Right over here. So even the market profile here is telling us that this is going to be a level for Bitcoin. This is a level where buyers and sellers could meet and potentially do battle. And that's going to be something we're going to keep an eye on. All right, guys, I want to thank you again for watching this video. If it has helped, please give it a thumbs up. And also please remember to subscribe to our videos for future updates. Thank you very much indeed. Bye for now.